The Great Pyramid is the most famous mystery on Earth. How did they lift the stones? How did they cut them so perfectly? Was it aliens? Lost technology? A civilization we've forgotten? Here's the problem with all of that. It isn't a mystery, and it hasn't been for about a decade. Because in 2013, archaeologists found the paperwork. An actual work diary, written by a guy who helped build it. Day by day, trip by trip, like a timesheet from 4,500 years ago. There are no aliens in it. There's a middle manager dealing with logistics. And honestly, that's a way better story. First, let's be fair. The numbers are genuinely insane. The Great Pyramid is made of roughly 2.3 million blocks of stone. Most weigh around 2.5 tons, some weigh far more. The granite blocks inside weigh up to 80 tons each. And that granite came from Aswan, about 900 kilometers away. The pyramid stands 146 meters tall. And it was the tallest building on Earth for nearly 4,000 years. So yes, when you hear those numbers, your brain reaches for something magic. But the real explanation isn't magic. It's an empire that was terrifyingly organized. Which brings us to a port on the Red Sea called Wadi al-Jarf. In 2013, a French-Egyptian team was excavating storage caves there. Wedged between stone blocks, they found hundreds of papyrus fragments. They had been sitting in dry desert air for about 4,500 years. It's the oldest inscribed papyrus ever discovered in Egypt. One leading archaeologist called it the greatest Egyptian find of this century. So what world-shaking secret was written on it? A logbook, written by an official named Merer. Merer was, essentially, a shipping supervisor. He ran a crew of about 40 men, part of a much larger operation. And his diary records their daily work in 2 neat columns. It is, without exaggeration, an ancient Egyptian timesheet. And what Merer's crew actually did answers the biggest question of all. Their job was hauling white limestone from the quarries at Tura. That's the fine outer casing stone that once made the pyramid gleam. They loaded the blocks onto specially built wooden boats. And then they didn't drag them across miles of open desert. They sailed along the Nile and through a network of canals. And recent research supports something remarkable. The landscape around Giza was far wetter back then. A branch of the Nile, long since dried up, ran near the plateau. So they didn't have to cross the desert. They used the water that was there. Boats delivered stone almost to the base of the construction site. During flood season, Merer's crew made the round trip 2 or 3 times a week. It's estimated those boats could carry 70 or 80 tons at a time. So the great secret of the pyramids is water, boats, and scheduling, which is somehow more impressive because it's real. And the diary gives us something the pyramid never could: a person. Merer names the pyramid he's working on. He calls it Akhet Khufu, the horizon of Khufu. That's its actual ancient name. The Great Pyramid is just what we call it. He mentions reporting to a high official, a nobleman named Ankh-Haf. So we know Merer's name, we know his boss's name, we know what he hauled, roughly how much, and when. This is a man who lived 4,500 years ago, and we have his work notes. That's the actual miracle here. Which brings us to the other Great Pyramid myth. The image everyone has. Thousands of slaves, whips, misery. That entire idea traces back to essentially one guy. A Greek writer named Herodotus, who visited Egypt around 450 BC. The pyramid was already over 2,000 years old when he showed up. He was a tourist, writing down local stories about ancient history. And that hearsay became the version everyone believes today. Then archaeologists found the workers' town, right next to the pyramids. And it doesn't look like a slave camp at all. They found bakeries, breweries, barracks for well over 1,000 people. They found enormous quantities of animal bone, cattle, sheep, goat, fish. Estimates suggest thousands of pounds of meat were supplied every single day. You don't ship in beef and beer for people you're working to death. And then there's my favorite detail in all of Egyptology. The workers were organized into gangs, and the gangs had names. Names they picked themselves, scrawled as graffiti inside the pyramid, on blocks that were never meant to be seen again. One gang called themselves the Friends of Khufu. Another went with the Drunkards of Menkora. These are sports team names. This is workplace banter, carved in stone. And when these workers died, they weren't dumped in a pit. They were buried in their own tombs, in the shadow of the pyramids, with jars of bread and beer for the afterlife. As one archaeologist put it, you don't bury slaves beside a king's monument. Now, to be honest, not everything is solved. We know how the stone reached the site. Getting it up is still debated. The classic answer is a giant ramp. But there's a problem. A ramp long enough and gentle enough would need almost as much stone as the pyramid. So researchers argue over spiral ramps, internal ramps, levers, and combinations. And in 2017, scientists scanned the pyramid using cosmic particles. They found a large empty space inside that nobody knew about. About 30 meters long. We still don't fully know what it is. So there are real mysteries left. They're just not the fun alien ones. And here's what actually bothers me about the alien theories. They're not just wrong, they erase somebody. Saying humans couldn't have built it means those workers didn't build it. And we know they did. We have their town, their bread, their graves. We have their gang names, joking on stones nobody was meant to read. We have Merer's diary, logging another ordinary week of deliveries. The Great Pyramid isn't proof that someone else visited Earth. It's proof of what people can do when they organize. The mystery was never how it was built. It's that we'd rather believe in aliens than admit how good they were. If you love the history nobody teaches, this is your channel. Subscribe to Fiuzaverse, and let's keep giving credit where it's due.